Hey everybody. I feel like we've gotten to become such good friends over these past 10 days. We did it. We made it. We're on day 10, last day of this packet. You guys have done phenomenal so far. I know this is weird. This is different. It's taking a little getting used to for everybody, but I'm really proud of you for sticking with it and working this hard. It's definitely going to pay off in the end, and know that I'm so proud of you. Your teachers are so proud of you. So let's finish up today. Now, we do not have morning work today. Your direction sheet just says to review all your morning work. So kind of like I told you last week on day 5, I would just go through and kind of be the teacher to somebody else, whether you're the teacher to your brother, sister, mom, dad, grandma, whoever. Kind of go through and review all that work with them just to show that you remember all of it. Just as good review. All right, so let's go ahead and get to our sheet here, practicing context clues again. We'll plug that in for just a second so we don't lose battery charge. All right, and this passage is called a map for Zach. It says Zach had his first day at his new school. He was really nervous. He was trying to find his classroom but having trouble. This new school was much bigger than his old. He opened the door on his right and the room was vacant inside. There were no chairs or desks anywhere. He closed the door and looked around. He saw a teacher walking down the hall and asked her for help. She was happy to help. She even joked that it may be to his benefit to make a map of the school, at least until he learned his way around. Zach laughed. He thought having a map would probably help him a lot. When lunch came around, Zach wondered if he could afford it. He looked in his wallet and was relieved to see he had plenty of money to cover his meal. He may not be able to find his way around school, but he was happy that they had good food. All right, number 1 is asking us about the keyword vacant, and that was in paragraph 2. It says that he opened the door on his right. The room was vacant inside. So we see he walked in the room, opened the door. The room was vacant. Well, what does vacant mean? There were no chairs or desks anywhere. So imagine you walked into your classroom and there was no desk, no chairs, nothing like that inside. Would that room be empty, full, or unable to find? If it had no chairs or no desks, we can infer that that means that it's empty. If it was full, it would have tables and chairs and desks inside of it. And it wasn't necessarily unable to find. He did find the door and was able to open it. So we can infer that vacant means that it's empty, nothing inside. Okay, let me switch to my blue. All right. So our blue one here is asking us what the word afford means. That was when he got down here to lunch near the end of our story. And it says, when lunch came around, Zach wondered if he could afford it. All right, so if you wonder if you could afford something, lunch is something that you've got to purchase. So he looked in his wallet, wallet's where we keep our money, and was relieved to see he had plenty of money to cover his meal. So if he was worried and wondered if he could afford it, he was probably wondering if he would have enough money to be able to buy it. And he said he was relieved when he looked in his wallet, saw he had enough money. So to afford something doesn't mean that you have no money or necessarily want something. Afford it means that you are able to buy it. If you can afford something, you have enough money and you're able to buy it. Now, I don't have a yellow marker, so I'm just going to switch to my green one here. And it's asking about the word benefit. All right, so this is the part of the story where he found that teacher and she told him about making a map. So it said, she was happy to help. She even joked that it may be to his benefit to make a map of the school, at least until he learned his way. Zach laughed, and he thought having a map would probably, keyword, help him a lot. So if she said that it would be to his benefit to make a map, and he thinks that the map would help, then I think we can match up this keyword help to this answer choice here that says help him too. Making a map to his benefit, it might make him feel good, but I think that the best choice here, something that benefits you, is definitely not something that's bad for you. I think the best choice here is we can match up that word help. She said it would help him a lot. All right. So hopefully you were able to find a couple of other keywords in there. Nervous was one that kind of stood out to me. There might be a couple more. To cover his meal, what cover means there. So any other new words that you learned, you can put them down there and try to figure out what those mean. All right. So the last Stony Island assignment you have for this week, you're going to log in, and hopefully by now you are a pro at getting logged in and seeing all those active assignments down there. You're going to go to your active assignment section and find ELA Day 10. So ELA Day 10, and let's just jump right into math. All right? So fill in these fast facts real quick. These are a little bit easier today than yesterday, huh? 12, 13, and 12. 13, 17, and 12. 16, 11, and 11. All right. Now, on this next section, they were asking us to measure these 6 different lines and then use the length of the lines to determine if they were shorter than 4 inches, equal to 4 inches, or longer than 4 inches. Now, this first line was a little confusing to me. And I measured it 2 or 3 times. I even got out a different ruler because it was so close. But once I went through and started answering the questions at the bottom of the page, I realized what this one had to be. So on my paper here, which is just like the one you have at home, I took my ruler, I lined up number 1 at 0, and I see that it is barely less than 5.5. Now it does tell me to measure to the nearest inch. So if it is less than 5.5, we can't round it up to 6, and this first one is going to have to be 5. Now this line is 5 inches long, so it would fall under the category of longer than 4 inches. So I'm going to put 1 tally mark for that section so you see kind of how this is going to go. All right, so let's go down to the second line. And when I measure it up with my ruler, I see it's past 3.5, but not quite to 4, but it's closer to 4. So for this next line is 4. So this would fall under the category of equal to 4 inches, which is going to be 1. Just put 1 little tally mark for that one. All right, the third line there is past 1, but not quite to 1.5. So this one's nearest inch is going to be 1, which falls under the category of shorter than 4 inches. So now each category has 1 tally mark. Okay? This third line here is not quite, it's past 2, but not quite to 2.5, where we could bump up to 3. So this one is going to be 2, which would fall under shorter than 4 inches. So another tally mark goes under that category. All right, this next one is the longest one for sure. And it's past 6.5, almost to 7. So we're going to round this line to 7, which falls under the category of longer than 4 inches. 7. Last one, line it up. It's past 4.5, almost to 5. So 5 is the nearest inch, which is also longer than 4 inches. Okay? So we're going to have to use this data that we just collected and these different measurements to answer the questions here at the bottom, which I will put up real quick. All right, so keep that information in front of you so we can go through and answer the questions together. All right? If you need to go back and correct yours, you can always rewind and just pause it for a second. Okay, so A is asking us how many lines were shorter than 4 inches. So I can go back to my chart here, and I see that the first section that says shorter than 4 inches, we had 2 tally marks there. So there were 2 lines shorter than 4 inches. B is asking me what line length is most common. Most common means it happens the most. And there was only 1 line length that was repeated more than once, and that was 5. 5 inches, actually. 5 inches was common. The most common was the first line we measured was closest to 5. Really, really close though. And the last one was also 5. Okay? Now these last two are going to require us to do an equation to solve. Super easy math. It's a little tricky setting it up, but we got this. All right, C says, how many more? Ooh, I already know. Seeing the word how many more means I'm going to subtract. How many more lines are longer than 4 inches than are equal to 4 inches? So they're asking me to compare two categories, longer than 4 inches and equal to 4 inches. And I'm going to subtract because I said how many more. So longer than 4 inches was 3. If I look back on my chart, I see I have 3 that were longer than 4 inches minus 1 that was equal to 4 inches. Looking back on my chart, I had 1 because I'm comparing longer than 4 inches, 3, equal to 4 inches, 1. And I know that 3 minus 1 is 2. So there are 2 more lines that are longer to 4 inches than are equal to 4. They're trying to confuse us with all these different numbers, but we got this because we are really smart. All right, last one is asking me the difference, and I know that that keyword difference also means I'm going to subtract. The difference between the number of lines that are two categories, shorter than 4 inches and that are 4 inches. So let's go back and see how many lines are shorter than 4 inches. I see that was 2. Difference means I subtract. And the number of lines that are 4 inches. Are 4 inches is the same thing as that category that says equal to 4 inches, which was only 1. Write that over here, you can see it a little bit better. So shorter than 4 inches was 2. The difference means I subtract. Number that are equal to 4 inches is 1, and 2 minus 1 equals 1. They tried to trick us on that one, but it didn't work because we've been working so hard these past couple weeks and we were ready for those. All right, so that is lesson 23, module 7, lesson 23 that we just worked on. So now you'll just hop on over to Zearn and complete the practice on Zearn for lesson 23 and unlock lesson 24. Okay, you'll get more directions from your teacher coming up about what to do going forward since your packet is run out now. And then finally, finish up on Study Island, active assignments, Math Day 10. Okay, now I highly, highly, highly encourage you, if you haven't been doing so already, to take a look back in that extra stuff. There's some great coins reviews, some great paragraph practices. You could pick like 1 or 2 a day to do as almost like your enrichment time or something, just to get extra practice. Never hurts. So I'm super proud of you for getting through this packet. Keep up the hard work and reach out to your teacher if you need anything. Bye.